Welcome back to our ongoing Bible tour. Today we reach the fifth stop, Psalm 37. This is a beautiful wisdom psalm of 40 verses, but it shows its true colors already in the very first phrase. Altith harbam rerim, altakane barose aula. This verse appears also in another place in the book of Proverbs. Be not inflamed by scoundrels, nor envy the wicked. Only the final words are different. The same opening verb, be not inflamed, occurs 3 times in this psalm. In the first verse, be not inflamed by scoundrels. In the 7th, be not inflamed by him who gets his own way. And in the 8th, there is the 3-part phrase, refrain from anger and overcome wrath. Be not inflamed, it only tends toward evil. Becoming angry, wrathful, and inflamed are 3 separate stages of the same negative emotion. We could call them new anger, boiling anger, and stale anger. New anger stimulates the brain to release adrenaline. Our body changes chemically, and we are transformed from people of peace to people of conflict. The psalmist's advice is very sound. Refrain from first anger. Don't let the beast sink its claws into you. First anger is like a drug that is instantly addictive. We must not allow ourselves to become possessed with rage. Once anger takes hold of us, it can keep us wrapped up in wrath for days, months, or years. If we find ourselves in this phase, the psalmist once again offers clear advice. Overcome the wrath. You yourself must subdue the beast. No one else can do it for you. But the 3rd stage of anger is the worst. Being angry just because we are in the habit of anger and for no other reason. Hating just for the sake of hating. This is the great evil towards which the negative emotions tend, entrapping us in a hellish state of mind. It is called resentment, and it is the source of much violence to oneself and to others. Jesus of Nazareth picks up the theme of anger in his Sermon on the Mount. But I say this to you, anyone who is angry with his brother will answer for it. Here the teaching of Jesus finds its place in the rich wisdom tradition, which includes Psalm 37. Another link to the Sermon on the Mount appears right away in verse 2 of the psalm. For like the grass soon do they fade, and like a vine of green do they wilt. Does that ring a bell? It should. Right in the middle of that section against worry, the sermon compares clothing with the grasses. Here we have a second close thematic link between psalm and sermon. Jesus may develop the material differently, but it is beginning to look like he has mined from this psalm like a mother-lode of precious ore. Let's jump ahead to the 11th verse, which Jesus quotes almost word for word. Wa'ana wim yirshu aretz, wahithran ral rov shalom. But those who are lowly will claim land, and will delight in grand shalom. Does that sound familiar? It should too. It is a strict paraphrase in the second beatitude of Matthew's, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Here is the third link between psalm and sermon. Are we convinced yet? Do we want some more? The 16th verse of the psalm reads, Tov marat latzadik mehamon rasharim rabim. But a little is good for the just one, more than the wealth of the wicked many. Having a little in justice is better than having much in criminality. Is this not the very thought underlying the first beatitude, "Blessed are the poor in spirit"? Now we have seen the fourth link, and it is an important one too. The first words of the sermon connect to the psalm, and the first words of the psalm connect to the sermon. But you didn't think I was quite done yet, did you? Near the end of the psalm, yet another verse connects to one of the Beatitudes. Shemar tam urei yashar, ki aharith la'ish shalom. Notice the wholesome and see the upright, how a future belongs to the person of peace. Behold the fifth link. The psalmist's man of peace is not just someone who consumes peace, but someone who creates it. The man of peace is a maker of peace. As Jesus frames it, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." This is my favorite verse in the psalm and has been for a long, long time, at least since the holy year 1975. In the spring of that year, our bishop led a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. They carried an official banner everywhere, for example, at the Holy Sepulchre and on the steps before the Dome of the Rock. They took the banner to Rome also, where our seminarian J. Peterson was studying. I could not go with the group because I was teaching school, but I made my own pilgrimage later that summer. I asked Kathleen Tolliver and the ladies of the Holy Rosary Parish to make a little banner for my Mass kit. This little banner and I traveled together to the Holy Land, and from there on to Rome, and back again to Billings, Montana, where it hung in Holy Rosary Rectory for 4 more years. But that was not the end of the pilgrimage. Over the next 4 decades, the banner and I have moved all over the diocese, from Billings in the Billings Vicariate, to Wolf Point in the Wolf Point Vicariate, to Miles City in the Miles City Vicariate, to Great Falls in the Great Falls Vicariate, and to Malta in the Havre Vicariate. There are only those 5 vicariates, and so then, of necessity, I began repeating myself by moving to Glendive in the Miles City Vicariate, to Hardin in the Billings Vicariate, and to Circle in the Wolf Point Vicariate. Everywhere I have tried to arrive as a person of peace, holding out possibilities for the future. Still the banner is with me, faithfully proclaiming the 37th verse from the 37th Psalm. At one moment in our long pilgrimage, I gave a little homily on that psalm. Eventually, it became the 5th homily in my recent book, Homilies from Montana. It was 1983 in Jordan, Montana, and I said this: "The mouth of the just man tells of wisdom, tells of wisdom. In the beginning, God spoke wisdom, and He created worlds. From the beginning, He shared this power with us as He gave Adam the task of naming the animals. And Adam spoke wisdom. Later, God told Moses his name from the burning bush, a name to be used for blessing. And Moses spoke wisdom. From a mountaintop he ordered, 'Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.' But God is not the only one whose name should not be taken in vain. Our names, too, are keys to personal mystery. A smaller mystery, but a true reflection of the infinite divine mystery, since everyone is made in the image and likeness of God. If I use another's name with love, I respect that mystery. But if I use it with scorn, I bear false witness. And so he also commanded, 'Thou shalt not bear false witness,' that is to say, without wisdom thou shalt not speak." This homily is just a quantity of words, but I hope to speak some wisdom to convince you of what power lies within your speech. If we always spoke God's name with reverence and not in vain, we would speak wisdom. We would become that bush on fire but not consumed, through which humanity comes into the presence of God. If we always spoke kindly of the neighbor, we would speak wisdom. We would become that pillar of fire that led the Israelites through the desert, as we all have a desert to pass through in which we need every bit of charity we can get. If good thoughts were the fountain of all our speech, we would become like a fig tree that does bear fruit, so the vine dresser would not think the ground it takes up to be wasted. In fact, the very ground where we walk would become holy, so that anyone later walking by should take off his shoes. And so, let the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, O Lord. So let us speak wisdom, always and everywhere, wisdom and nothing but wisdom.